Hello, hello, hello. You not hear me? Hello? Okay, I didn't change anything, so I don't know what changed. But welcome to the stream. How's everybody doing? There's no filtering. Again has not changed. I have not changed anything. All right. Well, welcome to the stream. Glad you guys are here. Brandon just learned how to recognize aliasing in FFT waterfall plots in Blackbox. Wonderful. Locos here. A few folks back in the chat. Good to see you. Brandon's chilling with his volcano. I have mine on the table next to me here. Paul McDonald, yeah, that Nitro Nectar Gold is definitely an excellent battery. As far as I know, also the tattoos, the new tattoos, the square ones, are the same. But yeah, they're totally different than like a standard, like I don't know, I call them round lipo or like a pillow lipo. I'm, I mean, I'm peaking my mixer on this side. Not really sure how to change the volume. Literally as high as I can go, actually, on Streamlabs. MK, no, I didn't. But if it's from returning a GoPro, then I know that anybody who does get a GoPro returned in the store is just getting an exception. It is most places will not do that. Frustrating because people tell them they can. Yeah, I don't know. Brandon says, I use the Nitro Nectar Gold, wish they were a little tougher. I tacoed one today and bent it straight again. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how tough a light boat can be without adding weight, and you don't want to add weight to a 1S, so. I don't have any thoughts on it, Crunked. Locos says any leakage. I don't know what leakage. I don't know. Nothing I know of. I just need more info before I like have thoughts on it, I think. I haven't talked to anybody that I think actually knows what they're talking about in reference to that play controller and processor, so. For anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about the FetTech G4. That video was leaked. I guess leaked. It's coming out. I was told to send it out, so it's not really leaked. I've had people tell me it's amazing. I've had people tell me it's normal, but it has a math accelerated thing, so it makes it easier. I've had people tell me it's like a shitty replacement for an F4. I've had people tell me it's a budget processor. I've had people tell me it's really expensive and you can't get them. I've had people tell me I don't know, man, and that's like in the last 4 hours. So I will hold my judgment. Mo says if it's anything like the FCOSD, it'll be good, but I mean, there's no reason for it to be anything like that. I don't think better off is sharing anything uh, with FedTech. So I think it's like all separate development. I mean, maybe they could copy it and somebody can make it for them or something, but there's a lot of development in an OSD, and he's not sharing it. So at least as far as we understand, I would guess it's going to be similar to FedTech's previous OSD, but I think like Krunk says, nobody really knows. Yeah, I don't know, man. That FCFC is like got a ton of shit in it. Yeah, I mean, FedTech has to build that out though. Like, so are they doing that? I don't know. None of that is leaked. If they have been, I'll say that. But it's supposed to this FC is supposed to launch tomorrow, the G4. So if it doesn't get delayed, I would assume they'll put out some kind of something when they put out the promotional material that shows the OSD so we can see it. But I don't know. I don't know if testers even have the G4 because I assume they have to actually because I know somebody took pictures of it. I have no idea what stores. No idea. Maybe just on FedTech's website. I don't know like what time frame is for dealers. But I guess I do know somebody that's not at FedTech had them to take pictures. Nobody said anything was wrong with Betaflight, so. I think it's like 160 probably, Mo, right? I don't know. I think that's like where the F7 is right now. It's like $60 to $80, and then the ESC is like $80. So I assume it's going to be like around that price. A lot of money, but everything's a lot of money these days. I mean, there's a few cheap brands, but I wouldn't buy it to run Betaflight on unless like G4's got, I don't know. If you read up on it, G4 looks like it has art acceleration, and as far as I know, art acceleration is that graphical OSD the same thing that H7 does? So if it has graphical OSD, which is what it seems like it does from the advertisements, then G4 might be nice for Betaflight, just for graphical OSD. It's a bummer though, because a lot of people are on DJI, so it doesn't fucking matter. But maybe one day. It is so annoying. If they do, I mean, canvas mode really needs to happen. Yeah, it's just weird that Krunk says don't buy that to put Betaflight on it. Yeah, it's just weird that I got that message. It's like, hey, you could put Betaflight on this later. It's like, okay, cool, but like, what's the application for that? If I'm buying a FedTech FC, I'm gonna be running FedTech. MK, Mo, I don't know about efficient, but for actually getting what you want on the screen, it's much more efficient to do canvas, because canvas you can draw whatever you want pixel by pixel. MSP, you're drawing to like a register or like a whatever you want to call it, database. Like you're basically saying like, hey, here's this thing, and then the goggles know to draw that thing wherever you said to draw that thing. But it can only be the preset list of things that they have set to draw. There is an MSP display port, which is I think between canvas mode, but it may just be that canvas mode is actually just running on something called MSP display port. I would have to go back and read that PR again. Not sure. I have 3 monitors and it is not enough monitors. Do you think analog really does still take up a large margin? Like, I wonder what percentage of people are on analog versus SharkBite or DJI at this point. That $99 module put a lot of people, at least partially, a quad or two, I think, on SharkBite. Or at least they have the module and they're waiting on a VTX. It's hard because there's no, like, easy way to know that, I don't think. But it would be cool to find out. I think when Pavel did his poll, which is like Pavel's audience, of course, but I think it was like 20% DJI or 25%. I don't know. I know like 2 years ago when I started, I used to go and everybody was like, oh, you have DJI? That's crazy. And then I was like the only person. And now most people have DJI. So. You can't. Krunk says, I mean, let's take my quad collection as a sample. I have 45 quads, 7 DJI quads. You're not a good example if you have 45 quads, Krunk. Interesting. Free range says still fly analog most of the time. Brandon says I think 80% of digital pilots are also analog pilots. Yeah, I don't know. I have not flown analog in maybe a year or a year and a half. It's been, I mean, I've flown the tiny whoops at the races, and that's literally all I do. And everything else is DJI. Like I haven't even flown my TP3, my analog TP3 in a year or a year and a half yet. I mean, it's been a really long time. I mean, I don't fly that much, but if I do, it's DJI quads. Yeah, but I think if we're talking about Crunk says I'm only gonna fly only analog this weekend at a race. Yeah, but like I think racers are even smaller subset. If we're talking about like who owns what. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely wish there was some way to know that. Be interesting to like get data from the retailers. I wonder like how many DJI units people sold, or like how many analog VTXs they sell versus like Vistas and Air units. We'll likely never know. Well, DJI definitely knows, but I don't think they're interested in sharing those numbers. We'll definitely have some good idea if they come out with some crazy, crazy something or other. Most is not sure if Betaflight shares analytics. Yeah, Betaflight released analytics at some point or another. Um, I remember they showed total downloads at one point over a month or 2 month period. Wasn't that long ago. God, if I remember where I saw it. Mo says, I assume they don't collect data. Yeah, I think it was just a download count, not like actually like what somebody's using in Betaflight, like configs and stuff. It'd be neat to have some kind of opt-in analytics, but it's hard with stuff like that because then it's like, oh, who are certain type of people opting in or whatever. I don't know how you do all that. I assume they only collect like maybe like crashes or bug reports or whatever. I don't even know if they do that because I don't remember using Betaflight agreeing to that, but who knows? Maybe there's some disclaimer somewhere that's like, "Hey, we're collecting your shit." Free Range Chicken asked Krunk how he stores all those quads. I have definitely seen a pile of quads just were in a pile before from Krunk, so I don't know how they are now, but oh, nice. He's got them all up on the wall. Oh, nice. I could try to be like a real streamer and show that on screen, huh? See if we can do that. See if we can do that. This, and then like this. I'm like, nope, that's me. There we go. The nice wall. Indeed. You're trying to buy a quad. Krunk just trying to sell them. As you might realize, somebody cannot fly 45 quads, so go buy some from them. So what's everybody up to tonight, other than watching me collect salt in RuneScape? Maybe you folks are collecting salt on Facebook or on Discord. Krunk found a quad at the bottom of a tote. When I find a quad at the bottom of a tote, it's like a quad from 3 years ago. I got in a bundle, and it's got like some weird flight controller. I don't know what is about. I really got to build a bunch of quads and just like go through all my stuff, but I'm being lazy. Oh, and Crony, trying to stay awake till 9 a.m. here so I can rank DHL. Make sure my shark bite gear doesn't get delivered to the wrong address. Good luck with that. Hope they get it to the right place. If you've got any FPV questions, feel free to ask them. I might not know the answer, but hey, I can try. Or if you have any questions about honestly anything, we'll see where it goes. Drunk says, "Who else is half a fifth deep?" Anyone. I'm about an eighth deep. I don't think that's what you meant, but Paul McDonald is full J deep. You think Johnny Depp is full J deep? That's like his nickname. What's up, J deep? Paul McDonald says, "Any thoughts on Open VTX?" Seems like a good project. Definitely support it. That's for sure. Hopefully, we'll see more and more VTXs. I wonder. I don't know. With the way Express LRS has gone, it seems like manufacturers are happy to throw a chip on a board and flash a firmware, spend a little bit of time on it if it means they can provide a cheaper receiver that people will buy. To me, that seems like it'll be the same case with VTXs. So, um, I don't know. I can only see it going positive, but I guess we'll have to see how the project progresses. Oh, and Crony says, "I've seen a beta FPV transmitter with Express LRS today." Yeah, there's a Light Radio 2 SE coming with Express LRS. Unfortunately, it is locked to. So basically, Beta FPV doesn't run OpenTX on those radios. And so they've integrated everything through SPI, and it makes it really difficult. So that you have to flash their custom firmware, and that means their custom firmware is like locked to the version that they build it on. And they're not really communicating about it, so we don't even know what it'll come on. Presumably, it might be 1.1, but then you'll be locked to the feature set on 1.1 and compatibility with 1.1. So you won't be able to flash the TX up any versions or get any of the patches or feature changes, or set any of the features unless there's something in the Beta FPV configurator for that that they'll provide. And then otherwise, your RXs should work until they lose compatibility with 1.1 or 1.0 or whatever it ships on. So um, we shall see. Those radios have a lot of issues with gimbals. The gimbals are going to be plugs now, so they'll be more easily replaceable. But I do worry about them going out, just like they have in the past. Otherwise, that'll be a great little whoop radio. Mo asks if I follow OpenHD. Not really. If somebody sends me stuff, I do. Typically, when there's like a big change, I'll follow OpenHD, but otherwise, not too much. Still waiting to hear any big news from the OpenHD custom VTX project that they're taking Patreon money for. We'll see how that ends up. All right, we just need 700 of this green salt, and we're done with this salt grind. I just finished this quest. I figured I'd knock this salt grind out here. Paul said, I was at a Wi-Fi 6 training today and noticed there is no overlap with any VTX channels. That's interesting. I can't remember how Wi-Fi 6 works, to be honest with you. I don't know. They've got like a bunch of new techs that I was looking at, but I'm not too familiar with it, so. I know they're doing color now, so maybe part of that is because of the color. But I don't know. Brunk says, what's your thoughts on organic peanut butter versus non-organic? Organic is fake bullshit. So that's what I think about that. If there's like a better or worse peanut butter, then that's cool, but it's not about organic versus non-organic. If you mean like, do I like Jif or do I like ground peanuts and oil? Then typically I like ground peanuts and oil, like a traditional peanut butter. But it is nice when you don't have to remix the goddamn thing every time. But I do like rich peanut flavor better. So Mo says I should create another Slack for like I did for FPV out for open source HD video. Yeah, the difference is FPV out like had a clear goal. It's like, hey, we have a piece of hardware, and this piece of hardware we know we could get shit out of it because they have a device that does it. So let's figure that out. So for me, that made a lot of sense. But I don't see that same thing for HD video. I don't know what chipset they would use or how they would format it or function or anything. So it's too abstract. I do hope somebody figures it out. Oh, and Crony says, yeah, I would have assumed all peanut butter was organic. Yeah, it is. That's maybe they add some weird chemicals, but that doesn't really mean it's organic or not. I don't want to get an organic rant, but Mo says you should tell the story of how he, and he means Junus, discovered the magic bite and didn't even know. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I mean, basically, it's pretty simple. They were messing around in Slack. I made a Slack a while back because I really wanted people to get together and share some information because it really made me mad that that Spanish YouTuber, I forget his name now, uh, but that Spanish YouTuber was creating a device, but he was going to sell it. And he wasn't like sharing any of the way he was making it or what it was. And so in that frustration and in the frustration of just seeing people talk about stuff, Junus had DM'd me about like, hey, how does this work or what chips are here? And I've had other people DM me about, hey, what's this or how do we do this? That it was just really frustrating to see people do the same thing over and over again. And that was the frustration that made me get them together. Like seeing that work done over and over and then get lost or somebody not sharing that, it was just really frustrating. So anyway, after a while they were messing around and Junus figured out he could send some, he basically just figured out he could send a certain set of bits to the goggles and they would start dumping out a stream of data. But he was able to capture the stream of data and he wasn't able to figure out what to do with it. So he uploaded it for us to view, and he uploaded it on Google Drive because he's like, I can't watch this. It's not a video file. It doesn't seem to be video, or if it is, it's weird. Can you guys check it out and see if you can figure out how to make it play? And uploading it to Google Drive, Google saw that it was a video and then made it playable on the Google Drive. So he shared it to us, and then we realized that like, oh, that thing you shared, we can watch that on Google. Yeah, and that was the first video that came out of the FPV out project through the Magic Byte. So it's pretty funny. It's cool to see that stuff, and I'm glad that people were able to get together and actually share that information. So it's now turned into like its own thing, and there's a bunch of different projects and stuff. So it's definitely cool to see that. And we're coming up on it here. We need 700 green salt, and then we can go build the 6 fires that we get to build. You guys won't know anything about what I'm doing, but I'm excited. Mo says I made it happen. I think I made it happen faster. Maybe I encouraged Eunice because I put him I got him in a Slack or something, but I don't know. I'm just happy somebody did it. That's what I'll say. Just happy somebody did it. Krung likes turtles. I am a fan of turtles myself. They're not like the highest on my list, but I wouldn't say I dislike turtles. So you like turtles enough to paint your face like a turtle, and then proclaim on a news on the news that you like turtles with your face painted. I think that's the question. I guess I should have asked the question. If you like turtles or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I don't think those are. I think those are mutually exclusive. I guess there's some crossover, but Brennan says, "Hey, Bonty, is 4 ounces a low yield for an outdoor grown plant 80 inches tall?" Yes. I mean, it depends on how long you had it out. Did you veg it before you put it out? What was sun like? Did you light dip it? But like, yes, that's pretty low. If you want more yield on an outdoor plant, you're going to want to do things like veg indoors ahead of time so you can put it out right when you're allowed to in the season. And then you're going to want to light dep it, depending on how far you're pushing it in the season, so that you're causing it to flower early. And get those like full flowering hormones, because as the season changes, sometimes you're like on the edge of that darkness, and if you light dep them, like do light deprivation, you'll get a better push of that hormone, those auxins, by having that longer, like that true night cycle. So um, I mean, you can grow them outside normally too, and they can grow like trees, but depending on how you've got them, the soil you planted them in, how you're growing, what you're growing with, what it is, what your environment is, what your like vapor pressure deficit outside is. Like, there's so many factors. Mo says that Turtle Kid must be old now. Definitely. Oh, and Crony says, I bet Turtle Power is the audio file for flipping into turtle mode on your radio. If it's not, Crone, it might be time to do that. That would be pretty funny, all things considered. Okay, let's try to put these out here. I've never done this, so time to learn. Steel bars. Actually, let's start with saw, hammer, planks, steel bar. Okay. Oh, and says he has the Star Trek Picard's engage. Engage. I can't do a Picard voice. As his arming audio, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. Duke Nukem wasted for disarm. Now, see that that seems ominous, I would say. All right, we need to build this old fire. All right, one down. We go to troll. Oh no. Right, so I need to go back here. Fade and a lantern. Brennan said, "Did JB ever do that sound pack?" I don't know. There are a couple guys who are collecting sounds in a community folder, or a community drive, I think, but I don't know that anybody's done that. Like actually gone anywhere with that. I think it kind of died. June Locos has any long range quads? Not really. I have a wing, but I have never flown it. I've owned it for like a year. So, what you gonna do? But no, other than that, just 5 inches, standard fives. Where the hell am I going? That one's done. Oh, right. Okay, I need this one. This is an easy one to do. What did I say I need? Do I remember? Fade. Lantern. Boom shakalaka. Okay. And now we want to go to Falador. Water. Is that right? Trying to ask how my part store is doing. All right. Not great. So, that's all I can say. Build the. Okay. Got another fire done. Main issue is just like floating money to get stock and then like finding, I don't know, people to order to buy it and then having stock that people aren't going to buy. I don't know. It's just difficult, but we're getting through it. Taxes suck, for sure, as you might expect. The mole's done. So now I need to go back and get super restore. And then roll that. Marcel off Axis FPVs here. How's it going, man? Good to see you. I think I can do this one. Again. All right. We're actually going to get a fire pit here that gets rid of this stat draining effect, which is awesome. That one done. To go to the house. And if I don't forget everything. Right through. Here. Working on some Ghost Dog tonight. How about you guys? Flops here. Two more fires to go. Hey, James Larry is here. How's it going, James? Good to see you. One more. What is the last one? Ah, mostly harmless cave. We can get there. Game teleport. Trouble brewing. Good to hear, James. Glad you could be here. Hopefully it's not too boring. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, happy to hear them. Let's see. Paul says, I have a T-Motor F7 HD Mini 45 amp stack. Would it be okay to put that in a 5-inch 20 by 20? I'd probably trust a T-Motor stack. I mean, it depends on what motors you're putting on it, I guess, but like 45 amps should be good for most shit you're going to fly. If it's actually 45 amps. 20 by 20 is small, but it's a stack, so it's not like you're putting an AIO on there. I would not expect it to blow. Right. Virus accomplished. So 6 quests left. Game. Just 6. But I can't do most of them, so such is life. Let's see, what's next? All right. Go do a little Temporos. Forget what you need. Glory. The amount of people on today. It's kind of surprising. Hey, Bill Clark's here. Thanks for the kind words, Bill. Much appreciated. It's tough for me to just sit in front of a camera, but with a video game, it's a little easier. So hey, why not? Worst case, nobody cares. I'm still playing a video game. Yeah, let's get distracted and mess up at Temporos. So in this mini game, in this mini game, basically you catch these harpoon fish, and then you got to go cook them. and then you fire them out of a cannon at the boss guy that's over there. And you're doing it as like a big group of people. So the strat here is you catch enough fish to cook for a minute, and then you wait for this double spot. And then this spot has a chance of getting you double fish. So then we're gonna get the double fish. We're gonna go back and cook. And yeah, you'll get it pretty quick. The fishing skill boss. So we get some food out of this, and you get like a fish barrel that lets you keep more fish. That's the nice stuff. Also a pet, but that's like 1 in 8,000, so not really expecting the pet. But I do want to get like 70 fishing at some point, so this isn't the worst way to do it. Forgot to go to the double spot. Look at me, that's why I'm talking. Because I'm talking. Pacific Northwest Pilots is here. Nice to see you. Fire these off here. They're basically trying to take his energy down. Once his energy goes down, we can all go stab in a pool, and then that will bring his essence down. You get 2 rounds. So. Pacific Northwest is asking about the ELRS handset. Yeah, the Beta FPV Light Radio SE handset, I assume you're talking about. Yeah, it looks like Beta has not been really in contact with the ExpressLRS devs, so it will likely have a custom ExpressLRS build on it and won't be easily flashable, and you'll kind of be stuck. So, if you're talking about the Axis one, that is not a handset. That is just a module. Oh, you mean the custom handset project? Yeah, I mean, there's plans to build that. Like, if you wanted to go build it, but as far as I know, nobody's going to produce like that version of like a core ExpressLRS handset. Pacific Northwest is talking about a couple of the devs got together and made a custom handset that's basically just like gimbals to module. But it's not really feasible for production as far as I know. Like nobody's going to make it. So I would really hope that at some point Radio Master or Jumper or somebody would hop on and make like a T16 with an internal ExpressLRS, but so far that hasn't happened. Dogtanian FPV is here. How's it going, man? Good to see you. There is still an ExpressLRS handset channel in the Discord, so if you wanted to go check and see the status of that, you should be able to. Don't think we're going to make full points this game, but I guess we'll find out. My goal, I think, is 4,800 points, I believe, is when I'm guaranteed five rewards. We always try to get over that. Gotta be pretty quick. And you gotta get lucky enough that a bunch of stuff doesn't break. The guy shooting the gun can break and can get extra waves and stuff. Fire can get in the way. But hey. You guys have questions about FPV? Or about really whatever. Video game? Runescape? What I'm doing right now? All this kind of thing. Oh, Henry is? He's good. Right. 5 reward permits. Still got it anyway. There's not guaranteed 5. Northwest says, have I seen the Fly Sky gimbals for the TX16S? I have not. Why would I care about Fly Sky gimbals? That's an interesting thing. Paul says, is it worth sticking with ERS 900 or just plan to move to 2.4? 2.4 will have much more support because most people are not going to have the niche of needing the range of 900. So, it depends. I mean, if you're happy with what you got, I don't see any reason to switch. It's still going to be supported. As far as I know, it's not going to be like dropped. Oh, and Crony says, is there any talk of audio on Shark Bite? Yeah, I think Carl is aware that people want audio, and I think there's room to send audio, from what I remember him saying. So, Pacific Northwest says RC model reviews did a live stream with them. Apparently, they're the best. Cost $140. Yeah, I'm not paying $140 for gimbals, so. We're getting into $500 Futaba radio territory. No, thank you. Who knows? Maybe I'll feel them and they'll be like, "Oh, they're perfect," but I hold my breath. Paul McDonald says, "No, I just like to tinker. Probably order a 2.4 board to make a box for here soon. Would rather get the newer features if they come out, type of thing." Yeah, most of the features will definitely be on 2.4, but I'm not sure how parity will go. Yeah, Owen says, yeah, 4 MIPI lanes free from what I remember of his interview. Yeah, I just don't know that it's possible to give DJI a run for their money. They're doing something different, you know. They're buffering video and doing compression on it, and he's not. Shark HD0 is not, so it's just going to be hard to compete. 80 to 100 megabits of uncompressed video is going to look a lot worse than, I would guess, 20 or 30 megabits of compressed video if you do it right. So, and that's what DJI's whole goal is. Are we going to make it? Yes. Pacific Northwest says the gimbal sit at a weird angle, like 70 and 110. Interesting. I'm not big enough for anybody to send me anything, so I don't know. They would have to be amazing for me to consider buying them. That's for sure. What I will say about HD0 is I wish there was a buffer on the current hardware that they could use if they wanted to. It was a little disappointing to hear from what I know about the system that to Carl to say that there's no buffer, just because that means there's likely no option for them to like start buffering and compressing. It is what it is. I mean, most people who buy the system don't want latency, but it would be cool to have both modes. But also on those goggles there's no retransmit, so the benefit you would still get benefit from the compression and stuff, and you would still be able to add more error correction, but you're not going to get retransmits like DJI does, which is like another step. Also, how much jitter in gimbals is too much in time to replace? I mean, like 5 or 10 microseconds probably. It depends on if you can if it's truly just a small amount of jitter that's around the center, then it's fine. But if you're going out to like 1100, if you're going out to like 1100 microseconds, let's say from the center at 15, and you're seeing that 1100 jitter by that much, then it's not great. Definitely recalibrate if you haven't. But if you're seeing like jitter when you hold a roll of like 10 microseconds, I think it's probably time to replace the gimbal. If you're just seeing center jitter, then do a deadband and you'll be fine. Owen Crony says, what's the benefit of a buffer versus not? And you said, oh, retransmits. So like, yeah, the idea is that if you can buffer video, then you can do stuff to that video before you send it, right? If you're just sending every bit of video you get right away, like if I'm just reading, if I'm just reading video constantly, I'm just getting a stream of that video, then the issue is that I don't know anything about what came before or what came after unless I have a way to store information about it. And that causes two issues. One, first you've got to store it somewhere. So that means you need the buffer present. But once you do that, then you could look, like let's say you look at the next pixel and the next pixel and the next pixel. You can start doing things like nearest neighbor, or I mean there's a bunch of different H.264 strategies, for instance, that they do for compression, where they know that like, hey, if these things are like this, then we can do math to say that like all these are the same. So when they're decoded on the other side, it's faster to do that math than it is to just get the data for each pixel. Stuff like that. And maybe it'll have blending. Maybe it'll be like a variant of the color it would have been to save space. Maybe there's more or less error correction on it, things like that. But those are the kind of things like it's going to do with the buffer, because it can hold that data together to say like, oh, this section is together, so we know what came before and after, we can do work on it. If you're just sending it one after the other, you have very little time to do work on that data. So what Carl talks about is he still does some like previous or next color correction stuff, but there's not a lot of it because I think he says he can hold like 3 lines out of the entire lines of the screen. And that's just because it's like active, like moving through the system. So when he does like a comparison, I think he's just doing like a comparison to a pixel or two, but he's not like looking at a whole section, like a block of pixels, and saying like, what's all in this box and what can we do inside of this box. Also, you can't take all those things and then compress them down. So you can't say like, okay, here's 1080 pixels. Let me take those 1080 pixels and like compress that image down to make it look better at the 720. Because maybe you can do magic with math to make it look better. Essentially, you're saying like, hey, let me have more latency to buffer this stuff and do work on the data. So then I can spit out the data that I've worked on a little bit later, but it's better because I've worked on it. So it's smaller, it looks better for the size. We've done correction when it comes through, stuff like that. The other problem is retransmits. So that's the other thing I was mentioning, is like the DJI goggles will send out information to say like, hey, we missed a packet. Can you please send that packet again? So if you send a block of DJI data, and maybe this little corner of the data gets lost because it rebounded off of the concrete weird, and you're in a bando. When you're like a little bit further away, or when the next little thing happens, it's going to re-ping out and say, "Can you send that again?" And then that's part of the delay you see in DJI goggles. That variable latency is it's going to wait on that packet so it can draw it all together. Um, and this is a huge benefit because you're going to get way more video than you would have, but the downside is that you're going to get this variable latency issue. So it is unfortunate, but yeah, Pacific Northwest says there's a valid argument that more latency with great video is just as useful as low latency with shit video. It really is just, that's the thing. It's like, where is the line? So it seems like HD Zero's job has been like, okay, hey, let's do as little latency as possible. And then how good can the picture be? Because we're not like limited by analog. So we're in digital world now. So, I mean, that seems to be their goal. Where's the limit? I don't know. I think we'll find out as he moves on to new ICs and develops new tech and stuff like that. But yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to say, of course. For me, I'll take a little more latency. What I would like is an extended locked latency. So some way to say like, uh, can you drop the block if it's going to be longer than this? Otherwise, delay the rest of the blocks so they're the same. So like, I'd prefer to just be, like let's say you're at 28 milliseconds glass to glass. That's DJI's like advertised fastest speed, which is the low latency mode. What if I could instead say, okay, just give me 35, but always 35. If you need to jump up the 7, great, but I won't see any difference because all these packets have timing and you're delaying them all to 35. I'd much rather have a little bit of extension without the variance. The hard part about DJI is when you're flying around stuff, and you could totally compensate for it. But when you're like trying to hard cut gates and stuff, that little variable means that you don't know exactly where you're going to be, and that can be difficult. Yeah, I don't fly analog anymore because DJI is crisp enough that I don't really care about the variable latency. Um, the other thing is, I think multiple people have flown the DJI system with like a bad VTX. So just like any other digital anything, like you can have faulty components or bad components or too much noise or whatever. I think all that affects the DJI system in similar ways as it would affect other things. Um, so, I mean, I know because I have a bad air unit. I have experienced like, if that's the only air unit I own, I would think it was terrible and I would hate the DJI system unless I bought another unit. So for people who've only flown on one VTX, I do worry about like their range perceptions or whatever. It's similar to anybody. Like if you buy a Skyzone 04X goggle, right? And you have issues with that steady view module. Some people have no issues at all. Some people have horrible issues and can't use it in either mode. It's unfortunate, but you can't judge that by that one situation. However, that person always will judge it by that one situation, because how else are they expected to judge it, you know? They spend a bunch of money on a system and it looks like garbage. And then it's frustrating. I'll be back in just a second here. Do that. There we go. Okay. That. Yes, that cannon is firing fishes, sir. You are correct. I use my phone as a camera sometimes. It's real annoying. Paul McDonald donated $5 on PayPal. Thank you so much, Paul. We appreciate that. Owen Crony says latency throws me off so bad. Recently tried flying an old free sky receiver on S bus, and I felt like my sticks were made of jelly. Yeah, there's a lot of latency there. Also, what am I trying to say? Words. Also, you might check like feed forward averaging and stuff. Brandon asks, how the heck does F port work over one wire? Does it need to go to TX or RX? It goes to the TX pad. Typically on a MCU, the TX can go both ways, but the RX is one way. That's just like that's typical. It's not always the rule, but from what I've seen, that's often the case. So yeah, you wire it to the TX pad, and then basically it uses, from what I understand, uses something called half duplex, and half duplex basically cuts the speed in half, and then shares like a back and forth. So it's like, hey, here's one way and here's the other way. Here's one way, here's the other way. Here's one way, here's the other way. Yeah, that's my understanding anyway. So it's basically just sharing the lane and splitting it up for both sides. And you should not need special commands on an F7, but that might depend on defaults. And yes, SRXL2, I believe, is very similar to F-port. So I believe it's the same thing. It's like a single pad, half duplex. Yeah, Owen Crony jumped on the $100 shark bite receiver. I think that was a good idea. If I had HDMI goggles, I definitely would have invested. For sure. Pacific Northwest Pilot says any new strains to be aware of. I don't really keep an eye on strains too much. I just smoke what I smoke. Sometimes new stuff will show up there, but I'm not like a hype kid. I don't know often what all the strains are. So I smoke anything with a combination of ammonia, diesel, um, fuel, uh, burnt rubber, um, yeah, like the construction fumes. Like that's a good name for a strain. Somebody should make a strain called construction fumes. Or like front end loader exhaust. Paul says as long as it doesn't taste like pepper or some spicy shit, I'm down. Yeah, the big thing for me is like most of the time I just don't like any of the like strawberry bullshit. That's what I always call them. It's like that traditional sativa strawberry flavor. I hate it. I just hate it. It doesn't get me high at all. I just smoke like so much of it. It's not worth my time. I smoke like an ounce a week, something like that, and I can still smoke one hit of like a ghost dog or a grease monkey or I don't know, anything like that. Like any good like heavy strain, and I can get high off one or two hits. I could smoke like two bowls of strawberry bullshit, and I don't feel high at all. So I don't know about energy. Pacific Northwest says it gives you energy. Maybe. I want to feel high because I have pain. So I'm trying to get high. Oh, and ask what's an ounce cost there? For me, I get 1 ounce a week of really high quality, and I can get up to 4 quarters different for $70. So after tax, it's like 76, 75 something. I have a lifetime employee discount at the place I used to work because I ran a grow for a long time, for like 8 years. So now I can go to that store and get those ounces for $70, and I get one a week. Um, and that's typically what I'm doing. Uh, I can get free stuff too, Pacific, but it's not like the same, and it's all legal here, so you can't really like pinch out of the grow easily. So it's just easier to buy it for cheap. So I can spend $70 a week. Ain't gonna kill me. Yeah, Owen says it's 700 there. That's insanity, but uh we used to pay in Florida. I'm not that old, but in Florida we used to pay like 110 for a good quarter, so like 400 an ounce. Um I mean you could probably get like 3 or 350. But yeah, something like that. And then for mids we would pay like 50 to 60 for like a fat quarter, so like 8 gram or 9 gram quarter. Or like 180 or 200 for an ounce. You really wanted swag, you could get it for cheap, but nobody bought swag when I was growing up. Paul says 20 years ago in AZ, I was paying 185 for a hydro quarter. Jesus Christ, that's insane. Yeah, most I've ever paid is probably like, what, $10 a gram? No, $15 a gram rather, something like that. I've been in Colorado for 10 years, so it's hard to keep forgetting like what prices used to be. Oh, it says that's crazy. I'm so jealous. Hope someday they legalize it here too. Seems stupid to miss out on the taxes and jobs it would create and letting thugs mostly control it. Yeah, I mean, most places have learned that the drug war doesn't make any sense. And especially if you have cartels, competing cartels are just going to take over when the other one is gone. So, who's been playing video games lately? Anybody played anything fun? Forgotten City? How about that? Anybody played that? It's pretty fire. That's unfortunate. The only reason that people have guns and the only reason that the whole thing happens like it does is because the amount of money involved and the fact that they're like trying to hide and avoid the police. You know, the only reason it's so dangerous to be in one of those gangs is because, you know, you're dying over money or you're dying because somebody thinks you're a cop. Not good. Paul McDonald got AoE 2 loaded up for this weekend. Awesome. Good stuff. It was a great game. That's for sure. I might go back to Hard Space Shipbreaker. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Um, but I have that on my list to do maybe as a stream. Basically, you're like a guy working on a space garage and you're taking apart ships. Also, it's still possible to play via LAN with VPNs. Yeah, I just don't know the last time I've really gotten that RTS itch. It's tough. Ooh. Still think about Deathloop. As much as I know, it's probably not worth the $60. I really, for some reason, have this fascination with playing Deathloop. Reviews are decent, so. Cooked fish for too long, I think. Yeah, too long. And 5 rewards, though. All right. I think I'm going to check these 5 rewards and head out for the night. I'm going to try to keep streaming fairly often here. I don't know if we'll make it every day, but I'd like to just start regularly doing this because I play video games anyway. So might as well sit on stream and answer questions. Maybe I'll schedule them ahead of time, but see what happens. All right, big money. 5, 4, 3, come on. Something special. Nothing. Okay, garbage. Well, that is how it goes. Well, again, it was good to see everybody. I appreciate you being here. And keep an eye out. Hopefully, I'll schedule some more of these pretty soon. Otherwise, come watch the news. Don't forget to watch the news. Yeah. Thanks. Take it easy.